Can you mute everyone?
Yes, sir. We're still waiting for few speakers to join. I think we can wait for half a minute or so, then we can start.
Okay, so we have about 30 people. So very happy to welcome you all. My name is Sanjay Sethi. I'm the Executive Director of Plant-Based Foods Industry Association. Welcome to this Fireside chat on Budget 2023 from the lens of plant-based foods. So keep it informal today. It's a chat. So there's no prepared presentations except MEDA has one on behalf of PBFIA, which we do at all our webinars. Before we start, we just give a little bit of introduction and some perspective on behalf of PBFIA. So very happy to welcome you all. So a little bit of housekeeping. Kindly keep your mic on mute. And great if you keep your videos on, especially the speakers. We have an excellent, exciting lineup of speakers. And feel free to ask the questions directly from the speakers, or you can flag it here. We have sufficient time and about 9 speakers today. So the names of the speakers I will announce as they come up. But some of the points that we are going to talk about would be from the point of view of plant-based foods. There's no place for the dairy and meat in our discussions today. And everything that we are looking at is from one unique lens, and that is how the plant-based foods are going to be impacted in the future. What are the policy landscape? And since we have amongst us Dilip, who has to catch the flight, so I'll call him first, but immediately after MEDA's presentation. Dilip, is it okay? MEDA takes 5 minutes before you.
Sure. I have 40 minutes in the car, 30 minutes in the car. Go ahead.
Great. So MEDA, kindly keep your presentation short. So here we are. MEDA Gupta is the Senior Manager at PBFIA. Our other members will also come and introduce themselves. Let's begin with MEDA.
Thank you so much, sir. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I think today was a great and exciting day because the budget for the financial year 2023 and 2024 came out. I will just present my screen here so that I can briefly introduce PBFIA and some of the positive takes from the budget for plant-based foods industry. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, you're visible.
Yeah. So this morning, when the budget was released, I think some of the exciting things were captured. There were a lot of discussions that happened around green growth, about youth power, about infrastructure, about investment, about women empowerment, and also about how startups can grow themselves. So I will start first with the introduction about PBFIA. We are a CEO-led body, and we are established to expedite the advancement of the plant-based food sector in India. We operate under 4 working domains. One is the policy advocacy, another is innovation, another is investment, and another aspect is supply chain. So we have 100 members, and we also welcome our members to come and be part of these working streams. We are also part of the International Plant-Based Food Working Group, and we represent India into that international platform. So as PBFIA, we work on creating a cohesive voice for the industry and try to advocate about policy developments that can shape the industry or the ecosystem altogether. So we have completed 100 members currently, and we're happy that we have completed 1 year. And in this 1 year, we have actually hit the century mark. So PBFI is basically trying to galvanize the industry voice. Here is a very brief glimpse about some of the major activities we have done throughout the year, starting from a delegation meeting to the Ministry of Food Processing Industry, coming up to the place where we are engaging with the consumers directly, or we're engaging with the retailers and sharing representations with the government to come with a solution for some of the bottlenecks which are there in the industry. As an association and closely seeing the industry's growth and challenges, we see that there are primary three focus areas. The center one is the primary focus area, whereas level playing field holds a predominant part and predominant focus for PBFI as well. And this session is basically addressing to the level playing field segment. We had different webinars and different sessions earlier as well. And of course, we will continue to have them to cater all these horizons. So level playing field, the major demand which as an industry we want to bring through is a parity in GST. We know that the plant-based food products cater to a higher GST slab, around 0 to 12%, whereas animal-based foods, the animal-based food caters to 0 to 12%, whereas plant-based foods cater to 12 to 18%. So we have written a representation where we asked the Ministry of Finance that there should be a 50% reduction in the current GST rate. So we have met the Secretary of Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue, Shri Sanjay Malhotra, and we have given this representation in person to him. And we have also interacted and shared this representation with the CIBIC, which is the GST Council of India as well. So we're taking this step and asking for a level playing field in this domain. Second problem that we see predominantly is the use of the nomenclature. Of course, everybody knows that recently there was a notice from the FICCI also saying that dairy terms, reinforcing basically the dairy terms cannot be used for plant-based food products. So on 28th of January, we have given a letter to the Secretary of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, who is the chairman of FICCI as well. This was given in person by Sanjay sir. And we have asked them that we should allow to use terms like soya or almond as the qualifying terms along with milk, maybe with the space or without a space or with the hash mark. So this request has been taken up and we are waiting that what kind of response we can receive from FICCI. Reinforcing on this area, we have also asked them that there is a need for an entrepreneurship development cell. And this is necessary to create an ecosystem where startups can be trained and can be hand-holded to create a good quality products. Another area which is very core for the development of the industry is the cluster development. And this was one of the major focus for today's budget as well, when Honorable Minister discussed about that cotton industry, a cluster approach for cotton industry can be brought in. Similar aspect, we can also see that the cluster development is very much important for plant-based food segment as well. And we have proposed government to notify 12 locations in India for the development of cluster. First focus areas for us is the Bhiwadi because it is strategically viable location because of logistic criteria that the space holds. So this is another proposal that we are working and carrying forward. So PBFI has come up with 4 reports. 3 are released and 4th one we are still working on with EY. And probably by this month end or next month end, we will be out with another promising report. I will also like to invite all the members who have attended here or any of the plant-based companies to come and be part of AHAR. So we have partnered with AHAR to create a pavilion from plant-based foods. And we are also holding a conference on 14th of March, which is the first day of AHAR. And this conference is presented by APEDA and ITPO. And we have a PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry as a co-organizer for this conference, which will be also supported by Franchise India. So this is going to be a very, as an immersive conference, a full day conference basically on 14th of March, where I will invite everybody to come and attend, and also plant-based company to come and showcase their products in the plant-based food pavilion. We are also coming up with the second plant-based food summit. If many of you know that Plant-Based Food Summit is our flagship event. So on 22nd of May, Hoteli Meridian, we are launching the second edition of the Plant-Based Food Summit, which will be a bigger concept than the previous one. This will be like a format of conference and exhibition. We will be having a greater representation from government functionaries, from chefs, from investors, from entrepreneurs, from scientists, and other industry representatives. We are also trying and bring a lot of investors into this conference and probably do a startup pitch session and a report launch during the second Plant-Based Food Summit. So you can please book these 2 dates in your calendar as well, 14th of March and 22nd of May. So many of the plant-based food companies also ask about what kind of schemes are available, which they can utilize. So this is a very brief glimpse of the scheme which are existing currently. The one is very common, which is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, which has a lot of segments involved into the scheme, and the key features, I've just included the few key features. One is related to the cold chain development, another one with the expansion of food processing capacities. It also provides incentives for the infrastructure for agro-processing clusters. It also covers food safety, quality assurance infrastructure, and Operation Green is one of the biggest scheme, which is under Ministry of Food Processing Industry. Another scheme is PM-FME scheme, which is also under the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, and it covers two major areas which is associated with plant-based food industry. One is the upgradation of individual micro food processing units, and another is the common infrastructure with a capital investment coverage of 35%. Another scheme is the production-linked incentive scheme for food processing industry, which is applicable for SMEs who are into innovative organic products, and even for products like which are like millet-based products. Even those companies can also take benefit from this scheme. And other schemes are also there by different government functionaries. APEDA provides a scheme for agriculture and processed food export promotion, which caters to development of export infrastructure, which also caters to establishment of quality standards or establishment of the market development. So these features are covered into this scheme. Another scheme is also given by Ministry of Agriculture, which is Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. It is very interesting to know that they have a segment in which they give advantage to value addition linked production projects. So they have schemes in which we can develop cold storage to cater the post-harvest or increase the post-harvest solutions. So those kind of segments are there, which the scheme covers, and it's very closely linked with the processed food category as well. There are a lot of benefits which women entrepreneurs can also take, could also take support from. So there are different kind of schemes and yojanas given by government. Mudra loan for women and Annapurna scheme, Sri Shakti Yojana is there. There's a Dina Shakti scheme, Bharatiya Mahila Banks business loan is there. Mahila Udyam Nidhi Yojana is there. And there's a Santa Kalyani scheme is there, Udyoni scheme, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana, and Sindh Mahila Shakti scheme. So these are a couple of the schemes which government entrepreneurs can take benefit from. So I'm coming to the point, taking in some of the interesting areas where which was highlighted in the budget 2023, and where plant-based foods can be seen as like a can gain a positive take. The one thing which was present in the budget is a strong reliance on sustainable and green growth efforts. So there was a discussion about green credit program. So we can see that plant-based food industry can also be seen as a green food, and we can also take a benefit from it or request for a benefit into this domain. Next one is the Center for Excellence at IMR. So Indian Institute of Medical Research, Indian Institute of Millet Research has worked predominantly in bringing millet-based research, and India has been seen to be the global hub for millet as well. So there also has worked on sorghum, which they utilize sorghum to create a plant-based yogurt. So if we're going to have a center of excellence like this, we can also presume that a lot of innovation can happen for plant-based food industry. There was a discussion about agriculture accelerator funds and larger producer collectives. So these kind of funds for rural entrepreneurs also establish that plant-based foods can actually go into the rural segment, or can give opportunities to the rural segment as well. There was one discussion under Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana that 30 skill India international centers will be developed, and the skills will be given to youth so that they adopt new courses such as 3D printing. And 3D printing is very much upcoming domain for plant-based food industry as well. So of course we can encourage like youth to learn 3D printing and utilize it for the industry as well. Then there was discussion on multifunctional cooperative society for unorganized panchayats and villages. So it also gives an opportunity that plant-based food industry can create a benefit from these kind of cooperative development, because this is a very new domain currently. And we also know that we have a good example set by dairy cooperatives as well. So plant-based industry can utilize such kind of examples. Then there's MSMEs and startup scheme under PM Vikas scheme, where they have given that entrepreneurs can improve the quality, scale, and reach of their product, and they can benefit from the existing and the new approaches that are being discussed in the budget. This is just the presentation in brief which I have. We have a lineup of good speakers, and we're going to have Dr. Sudhanshu, who is the Secretary of APEDA, joining us in his time. So we will take this discussion forward, that how the existing policies or the new policies can help the plant-based foods industry altogether.
Thank you, Medha. Thank you, Medha. So now I want to bring in the great achiever, that is Dilip Chenoy. You know, he was the Secretary General, Director General of FICCI earlier, and what a great personality Dilip Chenoy is. So Dilip, while you will give your perspective, I would like to ask you or give my small comment on today's budget. There is so many things which all of you will speak. We spoke about the great infrastructure fund in the rural areas. Welcome. Now plant-based foods will also go into the rural areas. But there's one area where we are struggling in the urban areas, especially near the consumption centers of homes and offices. A problem which has not yet reached the gigantic proportions is that this quick service which is brought in, the food quick service, while it is good that we get the food early, it is also good that if woman doesn't want to spend so many hours in the kitchen, somebody else helps her. But it also means that there's so much of additional greenhouse gas emissions, so much of cartons, so much of packaging. We used to have in earlier times, I remember in my childhood days, we used to have Sanja Chula. And a concept of Sanja Chula in some form came back to life, not exactly the same, in the form of home chefs delivering food to their neighborhoods. So every home chef would have, you know, some amazing delicacies cooking at their home, and not only saving the greenhouse gas emissions, just supplying to the neighbors, and also they are largely plant-based foods, because they don't like to cook meat at home, so they are largely plant-based foods, and they are also not using so much of packaging. So don't you think that there should have been, or there should be, a infrastructure which is now near the consumption center, which reimagines the entire supply chain? There's a food truck comes, leaves the food at the near the entrance of the residential areas, and there's a system. When we go to various offices, you press a button, kurkure comes out. Why can't we press a button and a thali comes out? And we have a delicious thali. Maybe those thalis are loaded in those food ATMs, and maybe at 12 o'clock, and by 1 o'clock everybody has eaten. And at Plant-Based Foods Industry Association, we look for such novel ways. Can you comment that what are the things that this country should be having, may not be in this budget, maybe in the near future, which can actually unleash the entire ecosystem? Dilip.
So thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Medha, for that great presentation. A good evening to all of you. Sorry, I'm in a car, so if you cannot see, apologies for that. But I just want to take 2 or 3 things where Medha had covered in the budget, but for the most plant-based food industry, it might be important. and this relates to
Dilip, there is a lag. There's a lag. Dilip,
the startups, the tax benefits to startup.
Dilip, there is a lag on your video. There's a lag. If you can stop your car somewhere, and that will be great. Continue, please.
Just 1 minute. I'm in a place where there's okay. I'm just parking on the side. Okay, so just give me a.
Please continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll just stop. So I'll do that. So if
continue.
I look at this for the startups, they have actually looked at extend the date of incorporation for income tax benefits to startups from 31/3, which is going to end in March this year. They've extended it to March of next year. So that's very interesting because most of the plant-based food entities are startups. The second thing for the startup is that if some of them want to change their shareholding, etc. So the benefit of carry forward of losses and change of shareholding of startups the benefit has been extended from 7 years of incorporation to 10 years of incorporation. So I think these are two things which actually help the startup community in the budget of this year. The other thing, in relation to your question, Sanjay, specifically, what is happening is, they talked about green growth, but the Prime Minister themselves have talked about net zero and talked about, life. Life was also mentioned in the economic survey. The FM mentioned in a speech today. So there is a whole lot of emphasis on carbon neutrality, on reducing carbon footprint, etc. You could look at this QSRs as both as a positive manner and in a negative manner. You actually talked about a negative aspect, but if the plant food based, you take Licious, for example, right? They started off by supplying meat products, meat, fish. Now they've got 2 or 3 dishes of plant-based protein in their menu, right? So you can actually look at them as an avenue for expanding market and have cloud kitchens of plant-based material of food, which can actually lead a larger audience and cut your marketing costs, etc. So I think there's a flip side to what you said, and the young kids. I'm old, right? But the young kids have got huge ambition, they got huge opportunity, and they can actually use this to their advantage. The other thing is that I get your point about labeling, right? And that's an important point which you mentioned that we need to actually address. But the other point is that that this budget is going to enhance consumption. So it's a capital investment budget, and it's also a consumption enhancing budget because of the income tax benefits, about the increase in PM Kisan, about all benefits that have been given to senior citizens, to women, to a whole lot of other people across the spectrum, right? And the states have been given money so that they can also extend something in the state budgets. So if consumption increases on the back of that, we can actually increase, use this as increase the consumption of plant-based foods. The millets program is a very, very important program, and
please think of the backup from the
So if you look at the millets program, on the back of the millets program, we can actually expand that, and that's a great to actually do. So one, the incentive startups in the budget. 2, the focus on agriculture, with increasing investment, the one district, one product, etc., which the 6 points Veda listed out in her thing. 2, the capital investment and the infrastructure, and especially easing the ports and all that can help to scale going forward. And 3 and 4, the consumption nature of the budget, and 5, the millets program there, and 6, of course, the benefit to startups. So that's how I look at this, and of course, the answer to your question of how we can take the QSR as an enabling rather than others. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'll continue to listen as long as I can. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer before I start moving again.
Thank you, Dilip. It's really such a great opportunity to always listen to you. We also have a great speaker here, Praveen Agrawal. Dr. Praveen Agrawal is the director at International Food and Beverages Association, IFBA, and Indian Association, and he has such a great experience with the beverages industry, including in Coca-Cola. So, Praveen, would you like to give your perspective, not just on the budget, but also what is that the government can do, which can provide a fillip to the proteinous beverages, the beverages which have got high protein and which are nutritious and wholesome beverages, instead of our youngsters going for some those kinds of protein shakes which are not so healthy. And can we have something amazing which is from the plant sources, and what is that the government can do to unleash this sector? Praveen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sanjay. And Meda has very well captured some of the highlights of the budget and further little bit detailed by Dilip also. I come from a policy and strategy perspective. So broadly, I look at this budget as very progressive, and there is something for everyone in this budget. As Dilip also mentioned, the key parts of the budget is one, it is leading to the capital formation, which is slated to be around 10 lakh crore in the next year, up from 2.5 lakh crore in 2015. So that's 4 times the capital formation. Huge boost to capital investment, which is going to lead to big consumption. For instance, the impact on the personal taxes and the corporate taxes by reducing the cess significantly is again going to lead to a lot of surplus disposable income in people's hand, and ultimately consumption demand is going to increase. And all of this sounds good for plant-based industries, particularly there is a historical evidence as in when people have more disposable income, particularly in the lower class and the middle class, they try to invest in better food and healthier and more nutritious food. With respect to our own industry, there's a lot of noise, Meda, coming from somewhere. I'm particularly enthused by a few statements made by the finance minister, which were talking about the food security, which were talking about nutritious food. And these are some of the things that plant-based industry definitely contributes not only to these 2 elements, but also to the larger environmental sustainability. There are examples of some support, additional support given to the fisheries, to the dairy industry, to the shrimp industry, to the millets, etc. And which all sound to me a very good indicator, positive indicator. If our presence is highlighted, we are in different forums, we do our advocacy right, then soon it should be a better, maybe next budget, there could be few line items about the plant-based food industry in the finance minister's budget as well. That should be our aspiration. And once this kind of top level alert happens, Sanjay, I believe that industry will reach different heights. The budget spoke about 7 pillars, very typical of Honorable Prime Minister. So these are called Saptarishis. I won't dwell upon this, but green efforts, Meda has already spoken, and plant-based food industry is a very good example of, green supply chain, green consumption, green production, etc. Agriculture digital infrastructure is another part of Saptarishi, which again very well combines with us. Budget provides great relief to the corporates. It provides a lot of relief to the MSMEs. For instance, extending collateral-free guarantee to the extent of 2 lakh crores and providing for 9,000 crores in the budget. That's a big step. Increasing the turnover limit for presumptive tax, which allows us to ease the taxation formalities, accounting, and also substantial saving. And I would understand, as Dilip also reiterated, whole lot of our members here, participants here, particularly in the plant-based food industry, they would be coming from this ecosystem of MSMEs or startups. So that should be a boost. Few insights specifically I noted about the agriculture industry, Sanjay, and uh, we as a plant-based industry, we have a significant leverage or interconnectivity with the farming industry or agriculture industry. One is overall credit is being expanded 3x versus 2015. So that's phenomenal growth. The overall coverage under PM Kisan scheme has been expanded several times. Several progressive schemes have been announced, particularly talking about green efforts, talking about natural fertilizers, talking about biomanure, natural farming, etc. One very interesting thing, Meda, that you may like to incorporate going forward while you talk about the clusters. So there is a concept of creating unity malls, and basically to promote one district, one product kind of concept. And many of the districts are having actually 2 products per district and taking them to unity malls. So, helping create entire end-to-end value chain. So right from typically farm to fork kind of situation where the farmers, the plant-based food organizations, and the connection to the consumer could be provided by these kind of concepts like unity malls. Agriculture overall credit target has been expanded to 20 lakh crore. Again, a big boost to the entire industry, entire agriculture sector. Very interestingly, there's a lot of emphasis on Shri Ann, so all kind of millets, etc. And knowing the way it was spoken, and I think the finance minister spent more than 2 minutes around millet-based or Shri Ann, different schemes and what all it could be included. Again, it goes, reading it properly, acting upon that, and leveraging it to benefit of our industry, I think it will go long way. IMR, Meda had already spoken, so I'm not going to talk about this. A lot of talk has gone about infrastructure investment, 10 lakh crores, which is a 33% boost over the previous year, roughly 3.3% of the GDP. It symbolizes that country is taking leaps, faith of leap to leap of faith to invest proactively and ahead of time. A lot of mentions have been put about agri-tech startups, including the accelerator funds, etc. All of these things sound good for our industry. There is a concept of Atmanirbhar Clean Plant Program, and 2,200 crore has been specified for that. So I can go on, Sanjay, but I think coming to the important question, how we could leverage some of these to advantage of plant-based food industry. My own thinking is, as consumers are maturing, they are understanding the difference between synthetic proteins and proteins derived from plant-based resources. As industry is growing rapidly, but despite of that, the CAGR is about 21%. But even in US kind of advanced market, the overall contribution of plant-based food is less than 0.5%. In India, we are a fraction of that 0.5%. We are actually 0.0006%. So even to be able to come to that level of maturity in US, there's a implicit, implied, latent potential of 100 times growth lying in front of all of us. And I do see that visualization and possibility that this 100 times growth of the current small market size that should be achieved in next 3-4 years and not in 10 years time. Some of the things that we need to talk actively to promote plant-based food industry. Mehndra touched about the regulatory part. So this confusion why almond milk could be called a milk and an avocado milk cannot be called a milk, and why should something be spelled as MILK and some other thing could be spelled as MYLK. I'm sure dairy industry lobby would be behind that. But I think socially, culturally, looking at average Indians' dietary preferences, etc., and current dispensations, thinking processes, this is the right time to leverage the strength of plant-based foods, plant-based proteins, and get our mentions at the high policy levels. Uh, some policy stance that we need to take, you know, of course, as I said, PLI schemes, there is none currently directly for our industry. And we should be progressively, actively pushing for PLIs for our sector. And food and processing industry has been active. They've been very supportive. Kisan Sampada scheme was listed there. Now again, that is one scheme under which rapid expansion of production and manufacturing facilities have been allowed in past. We have helped few companies to avail that, and I must admit I was surprised by the transparency and the swiftness of the process. So, so I would urge all the members here to start looking at leveraging these government schemes and be more alert. Sanjay and team are already doing a great job in listing, sharing with all of you on regular basis about these schemes, etc. Uh, Towards the end, I would like to urge that the kind of potential that we have, let's not wait for 10, 20 years. This potential has to be realized in next 2, 3 years. We have the right ecosystem. The policies are yet not fully there to support us, but with this awareness, a little bit of media coverage that we are getting, the consumer interest, new age consumers that we are talking, uh, the momentum has to be built to talk about PLIs, to talk about direct incentives like in Kisan Sampada scheme, to create special food parks, why not? Or within the existing food parks, if there could be an additional regime for fiscal and tax saving mechanism for startups investing into plant-based industries. I think that is a next step for or our target for the next budget that we should look at. And of course, a little bit of more work with FSSAI and BIS, etc., to create a better enabling environment. In nutshell, I would say the budget was very progressive. There are hidden nuances, hidden schemes, and comments which are all very supportive to our industry. And it will be our smartness to collectively leverage these uh, schemes, announcements, and hidden gems within the budget to our advantage. Thank you for the patience hearing. I'm sorry my video would be very dark. I was
No
expecting to
problem.
reach
No
at a steady
problem.
place by 6:15.
No problem. Praveen, you are a rock star. You
Thank you, sir.
always speaks from the heart, and so many insights you gave, and also Dr. Sudhanshu, APEDA secretary, has been patiently listening to all of us, and is very happy. We want to hold him a little longer so that he can understand our sector a
Wonderful.
lot more deeply, which he already does in a great way. And I will also bring in Hemendra Mathur, some of the things that you said, Praveen, that the issue about the what nomenclature. Our industry is just being set up. Many of our startups have not even started. They are going to start in 2023, 24,
Good evening,
25.
Mr. Sethi. Am I audible? Mr. Sanjay Sethi, am I audible?
Who is speaking? I think somebody kept the mic on. Okay. So requesting
Yeah, I
Hemendra.
think there is some network issue.
So I'm requesting first Hemendra Mathur to come in. And in this, just to answer what Praveen was saying on the dairy nomenclatures. So we also want to sit down with the dairy industry and come to a common conclusion where we can write in bold letters, not from animal sources, or something like dairy free. I mean, something like that. This is an alternate to dairy, or something which where the consumer is very well aware that I'm not buying a dairy product. And at the same time, consumer can also go for those products which reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So there is a big demand the world over. This sector is happening. This is a lot of interest by the investors also. And we cannot just stay muted to all that what is happening all around us. There's $100 billion worth of opportunity in the world market, and we must not do anything that we cannot capture that opportunity. We must capture that opportunity. And also we need those kind of amazing ingredients. Our farmers, our scientists have to come up with amazing varieties like what we see outside the country. US has got pea and soy varieties, which we feel that some of those high quality soy products should be in India till our farmers can produce those. So instead of importing edible oils, why not we import these soybeans and crush it and keep the oil and take the human grade high quality protein in the form of TVP or the proteins or the isolates or the concentrates outside the country and capture that market in the world over. Canada has already provided a huge incentive to rocket and to some other protein clusters. So we can also do the same thing. We have notified, we have actually requested APEDA and the government to notify 12 clusters, and the first one in Bhiwadi. And when we had the first plant protein cluster meeting, APEDA had kindly participated in that meeting. So it gave a lot of boost to the entire industry that yes, the government is taking interest. So Hemendra, my question to you is that from the point of view of plant-based foods, is there a good news in this budget for us, or is there a bad news?
No, absolutely. There's a lot of good news in general for agriculture, also for agri-tech and for startups in particular. I'll come to plant protein, but I want to highlight 2-3 announcements, and I won't repeat what has already been said by Dilip and Praveen. I won't repeat that. What I'm most excited about this budget is this sort of inclusion of public digital platform for agriculture. As part of the policy document is a great news. Of course, agri-tech has been in works for many years, but I think it's time that we operationalize it, and it coming into budget speech is a good indicator to me. And I think that is revolutionary, in my opinion. That the whole challenge around farmer access to markets and farmer access to institutional credit, to good quality inputs, to mechanization, to data advisory, I think all of that can be addressed very efficiently if we have a open source platform, which has been announced today. Of course, I think a lot of work has already happened on the ground in terms of digitization of land records and building those farmer IDs and farm IDs. The challenge is, how do you harmonize it? How do you standardize it? How do you make it interoperable? And how do you open it up for creating interesting applications around it? I think that's where this is going to be revolutionary. And the biggest beneficiaries will be the entire supply chain, right from input suppliers to processors to aggregators to distributors to banks and NBFCs. So I think that to me is the most exciting part of this budget speech. Of course, accelerator fund for agri-tech startups, again, been advocating for this for many years. Happy to see it part of the budget speech. I think I'm sure there's a lot of venture capital available. I think things have changed in the last 4 years significantly. There's $3 billion investments in agri-tech. But what is being challenging is the early stage support, especially for validation. And I'm sure that's true for plant-based protein startups also. How do you validate? How do you engage with R&D institutions? How do you do sort of a lot of field validation? That's a significant cost. So I would sort of urge anyone who's deploying this money, I'm sure there'll be a lot of funds and incubators and accelerators who will be using this money, is to help that process accelerate, make it very efficient for startups to validate and sort of take it to the market. I think that is one use I can see for this fund, which is being announced as part of the budget today. Third point, of course, Dilip talked about is increase in allocation for PSL lending to 20 lakh crores. I think that's great. But I think more than the quantum of money, I think it's the mode of lending which we need to think about. How do you make lending to farmers more cash flow based, right? A lot of lending right now is on the basis of mortgage of land and mortgage of assets. But fortunately, there is a lot of digitization which has happened in the food supply chain, which can potentially help banks build very, very innovative products for financing of farmers, especially. So I would also like to see, how do you go from conventional KCC model, which banks have used, to more innovative digital tools, cash flow based financing, so that, large section of farming population can get access to credit, which is very attractive, like 7% rate under PSL. So I think these are some of the positive things. Of course, from a plant-based food point of view, I think we have to work a little bit harder. For it to be part of a budget document, to me is slightly ambitious at this stage. We need to create a demand side story, I think has been spoken by the previous speakers. We need to work with regulators. And as I've always said, even in your previous events, that, we shouldn't promote it as an alternate protein or alternate food. We should always try to build a mainstream story around it. How we can make a lot of these products mainstream, instead of a milk substitute or a meat substitute, etc. Can we promote this as a mainstream protein? That would be real good driver for driving the consumption, build a demand side story. And, and I'm sure the policy and the reforms and the regulatory support that we expect, I'm sure you're working very hard on it, I know. I think that the adoption or the receptiveness of those changes that we need will be far more higher. So I'll stop here, and thanks very much for organizing this wonderful event. Pleasure to be part of this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have poll questions, so you participate into that, Hemendra, where we are going to ask whether you like the budget or not.
Okay, sure.
So
very straightforward question.
You can secretly tell us that.
No.
And so now, before I call from PhD chamber Mini Dubey, I would request Dr. Sudhanshu, APEDA secretary, to kindly come as he's our keynote speaker today, and he has been very helpful, like a father to this sector right from the day one. He also unveiled the dawn of the plant-based age report last year during the summit, and he was one of the first officers from the government that whom we met and appealed. And after that, we saw that APEDA also started making its own standard for the export market, which is very much needed. Many people may not know plant-based foods is an amazing opportunity for Indians in India, but it's also a great opportunity for foreigners outside the country. So India can actually take this opportunity and export amazing soy-based and other ingredients-based PVP and proteins and other plant-based foods. Over to you, Dr. Sudhanshu.
Thank you very much, Sanjay ji, for your kind words. And Sanjay ji, I hope I am audible.
You are very, very audible.
And sorry, I am putting off my video because I am just left from a meeting. So I thought, let me try to join in time. So good evening all, and let me compliment first PBFIA to organize this Fireside session, and especially the Fireside with the budget. So really the kind of interactions with the industry, and it needs to be explained to everyone what has been the intention of the government and what is the vision of the government and how it is going to help the entire industry covering the agri sector also. So it has been a great budget this time in terms of two, three key areas where basically the focus has been given. One, in terms of startup, reached to an advanced stage, and the accelerator which has been created for strengthening the startup. We feel that this will not only strengthen the existing startups, but encourage the other startups also in the agri sector. And the startups are going to play a very crucial role, not only in terms of product, in terms of services, in the entire value chain of exports, and not only exports, but in the domestic market as well. Second key point of the today's budget has been creating the cluster value chains. As we all know that the country is an agrarian economy, and we are able to grow large range of products due to varied climatic zones, and which is the strength of the country, strength of this Indian agrarian economy. We have large number of clusters in the horticulture sector, agriculture sector. Sanjay ji was mentioning about the clusters proposed for these plant-based food products also. Why we all know that why a cluster is required, because the in the cluster-based approach, at least with the efforts of the government and the other stakeholders, all this value chain can be organized well, and which directly affects the quality of the produce in terms of production, and take care of the other aspect of the value chain also. So third was basically in the budget allocation for high value horticulture crops also. And when we say high value horticulture crops, which is basically the term was given as green plant. I'm just forgetting the purpose was to just provide disease-free planting material and overall quality of the produce, because in some of the areas we don't have the right kind of planting, and if we are able to have the right kind of planting material in terms of the pest-free or the pest-free resistant varieties, we will be able to have quality produce, and the window of the production will also increase. So this has also been for publicizing millet, and it will not only be millet, the all APEDA scheduled products, and where for the plant-based industry also we will be showcasing the strength of the plant-based sector also. So we feel that the good budget announcement has been done today. Now it becomes the responsibility of all the concerned stakeholders in the industry to basically translate it up to the grassroots level. So people should know what all is available, and wherever the hiccups will be there, it can be communicated to the concerned government agencies for the resolution of the same. So I see that this will definitely be benefiting the industry, and especially the plant-based food industry, which is in the nascent stage, which has a bright future. I think this will definitely help. With this, I would like to conclude my remarks. All the best with you. Over to Sanjay ji.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhanshu. You have been very encouraging for this sector. And you rightly said that this is in the nascent industry and we have a great opportunity. And APEDA is our vehicle for growth, because APEDA is what takes us to the rest of the world. And $100 billion worth of opportunities outside India. In India, we are expecting it to be a $5 billion opportunity in the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. But outside of India, it's amazing. It's amazing because they are the ones who are eating such huge quantity of meat that they want to look for alternative sources, and which is soy-based, plant-based food products. And now requesting Millie Dubey. Millie, are you there? Kindly come with the Dr. Sudhanshu's help. APEDA and ITPO is taking lead in helping us organize a conference during the first day of AHAR, which is the dawn of the plant-based age. So we are expecting Honorable Minister to also come and be the chief guest at this event, and requesting Dr. Sudhanshu to use his good offices to make it happen. And PhD Chamber is our partner. So PhD Chamber and PBFIA are partnering together to organize it together. And we also have a supporting partner, that is Franchise India. So over to you, Millie. So Billy, I can see your mic is on, but we can't hear you. Maybe you can log out and log in again. And in the meantime, requesting Aman. Aman Taneja is an expert. He understands the regulatory aspect very well, and he's from Ikigai Law. Aman, can you tell us what is happening in this nomenclature issue? We have been to the health secretary twice in the last 1 month, and we would like to be guided by experts like yourself who have been at the forefront of this, and you're so much privy to what is happening inside. So, Aman, would you like to share your information and your knowledge with the plant-based food industry which is present today?
Thank you, Sanjay. Very happy to be here. Thanks so much for organizing this brilliant discussion. Just very quickly, maybe on the budget aspects, echo much of what has been said by speakers before me. I think there is a lot to look forward to, especially, I mean, we're a law firm with a sharp focus on technology and innovation, and we feel this sector fits within that, but there's a lot of work we do around digital technologies, and a lot of the push in the budget along those lines is a positive development that we see, because the digitization does, I think, result in greater efficiencies, etc., which will benefit the industry as a whole. So excited about that. Specifically on the question around the nomenclature issue, I think Medha also brought it up in the beginning with her presentation around the recent controversy that's been happening. This is something, we've earlier made representations along with some startups, along with the people at GFI, the Good Food Institute, about a couple of years ago at this point, about the need for clarity around the nomenclature of plant-based products. And in that time, the context was around plant-based milks. And it's in some sense, very existential to businesses, right? To at least know, I mean, if one, for consumers to understand. I think Mr. Hemendra Mathur made the point that, if we want to make a demand side story and not project this merely as an alternative, I think it requires consumers to have that awareness and to understand the functionality of the products that we're talking about, and that in fact you can use in many situations as an alternative. So for that to happen, there has to be clarity on the ability to use certain, right, in a way that does not confuse consumers, but rather tells them what the intention of the product is, and and as long as there is clarity on that, I don't think the regulatory concerns around misbranding, mislabeling should really come in. In fact, there was a very interesting survey which the folks at GFI had done, which essentially said that 80% of the consumers that they spoke to were not in any way, shape, or form confused by the usage of, say, dairy terms, because it's accompanied by by say almond or oat or whatever else is there. In fact, at the moment, there is an ongoing litigation in the Delhi High Court, which had been initiated by the dairy folks seeking directions to the FSSAI to take action. And in that litigation, there is in fact currently a stay order operating requiring that no coercive action be taken while that matter is sub judice. That case is going to come up, I think, for hearing again on the 21st of this month. It's not a litigation our firm is directly involved in, but we are keeping an eye on, because perhaps that is the route through which we might get a little bit more clarity, right? So, and it is even an opportunity for maybe some of the industry members on this call to see if the scope to intervene in that matter in some form, and see if some clarity through the judicial system can be brought in, because it's an important question. I think the letter of the law is there, and if the end goal is to protect consumers from being misled and from being misguided, I think there has to be a interpretation done in that manner, which allows this industry to be able to grow and not have to deal with this uncertainty at this very early stage in their growth, right? And if we compare numbers right now, it's hardly a $20-30 million industry, perhaps the plant-based milk sector, compared to the billions of dollars of industry that the traditional dairy is. So there's no, I mean, in that sense, there's no competition, but it's a very important time to get that clarity for the industry to really grow. So honestly, that might be, in terms of wish list for what we would like to see in this year, that would be very high on that priority list. I'll pause there. Thank you so much for having us. And if there's any questions, happy to take them.
Thank you, Aman. Very insightful. We will definitely bring you in again towards the end. There will be a lot of questions for you, I'm expecting. And we also have a poll question here. And before Millie comes, if we can have the poll questions, that would be fantastic. Narari, can you introduce yourself? And also we have on our panel here our team members. Aditi Sharma is there, Tripti is there, Indra and Narari. If you can also quickly introduce yourself and also put the poll question.
Sure, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Narari Gupta, and I'm working as an innovation specialist at the Plant-Based Foods Industry Association. And I'm also looking after members. So currently we have 100 members, and we are focusing on 4 major work streams, that is innovation, investment, supply chain, and food policy advocacy. As Medha mentioned, that we have an upcoming conference coming up during Asia's largest food exhibition, that is AHAR, at Pragati Maidan on 14th of March. So in case anyone is interested to maybe like book a stall or attend a conference, you can reach out to Sanjay sir. And thank you so much for coming here at this time. Thank you all. I will launch the poll question now.
And also maybe Indra can come, and Tripti, Aditi. Indra, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you. Very good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today with the budget. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of takeaways from today's stellar list of speakers. We have so many experts here, and it's going to be great. And I hope it's going like you take away a lot from this and progress this industry with what the budget has provided for us. And so myself, Indra, and I'm working at PBFIA as innovation specialist, and I'm a food technologist. So I take care more towards the research innovation part, and also member services and policy advocacy at PBFIA. So and I think over to Tripti.
Thank you very much, Indra. Very good evening, everybody. It's really insightful chit chat here over the budget. I am Tripti Sagar. I work for PBFIA as an intern in research and development. So this session, and we are going to discuss more and more and looking forward to the new challenges and opportunities what we can have. Thank you. It's really great pleasure to have you on the board here.
Okay, so now Millie Dubey, please, from PhD
Yeah, hi.
Chamber.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible, Sanjay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sethi, for giving me this opportunity, and it was really, really nice to hear all the speakers, including Hemendra and Sudhanshu sir. So, talking about the budget, like Hemendra rightly mentioned, that I'm also equally excited about the digital intervention, which the FMC emphasized on, building digital public infrastructure and accessible, inclusive, and informative solution for farmers. So this is going to be a game changer for the agriculture sector. That is something which is very, very exciting. And now we have started talking about it, and a lot of AI ML coming in picture, changing the whole landscape of agriculture. So that is something which is going to make a huge difference in this sector. Then setting up the Agriculture Accelerator Fund is again a very, very good news and a good indicator for agriculture sector to evolve and to be at a on a progression. Like we have very, very promising startups who are coming up and started to change the landscape of agriculture, with the digital intervention, precision agriculture, AI, ML, robotics, drones, etc. So that is something which is going to be very, very exciting in this sector. Apart from that, the horticulture clean plant program to be launched, which is also very, very good, that where to boost the production of high value agricultural crops. This is something which we have been talking about, and now we have started implementing. So again, now coming to the setting up a widely available storage capacity, that is something which is the need of an hour, because no matter how fancy do we talk, it boils down to the farmers and the distress sale, which eventually burden them. So to provide them a good infra is a very, very good move from the FM, and I totally concur with all my fellow speakers who have already spoken about it. But this is something which is going to be a very good move in this sector. So now coming to the towards the G20 presidency and all of that, the sustainability is the keyword, and talking about making India a global hub for millet is something which is very, very good. And I see a food processing sector in this sector would be a very, very important move, where we have to India is emphasizing on millet to become, we are aiming India to become a global hub, wherein the food processing sector plays a very important role, because the palatability is a major challenge when we talk about millet. So dissemination of knowledge and nutrition is one part, but the main resistance comes when it comes to the palatability, and only the food processing sector can bridge this gap. And I see that has started happening, and with this with this announcement, it will even spread more, and India will be on the right track. And plant-based food is a move towards sustainability, and sustainability is something which we can't avoid. Years before we have started talking about it, but now we have included in our budget, and we are talking now. So like Hemendra mentioned, that it is slightly ambitious at this time to plant-based food to be included in the budget, but then it is evolving, and I see it coming in the next couple of years. Definitely plant-based food is going to be a new big thing. So I'll reserve my comments here and would let other speakers come in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Millie. The result of our first survey is out, and it says people are divided almost 50-50. That half of them are happy and half of them are not happy. 54% not happy with the budget, and 46% happy with the budget. So I think it's time to launch our second and the last question. as a poll, and also requesting 𝐊𝒂𝒏𝒕 Mishra to come in from Ernst & Young. Sorry, 𝐊𝒂𝒏𝒕, we should have brought you in the beginning and have the knowledge piece right in the beginning. And but this is because of some speakers who had to come in earlier, so we put you in the last, amongst the last. So,
thank you, thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sanjay. Thanks for inviting me to this conference. And I think, some really, really great points coming up from the entire budget. I think most of the budget has been already dissected here. But, I would just I think, yes, you said I should have come in a bit earlier. Probably just wanted to put things in a bit of perspective. I'll not take much of your time. And, then I will mention my comments on the budget. So I do believe, first, coming to the plant-based industry, currently the industry is valued at globally, it is valued at around $18 to $20 billion and expected to go to about $40 billion by 2028, growing at a CAGR of about 11%. While in India, we are standing at around, $600 to $700 million and expected to go to, another 1.6 or $2 billion by in the next 5 years, which is at a CAGR of about 12%. And we should understand, what is driving this industry. I think, the major drivers being, the lactose intolerance and, the rise in vegetarianism and veganism, across the globe. And I think, there is a huge scope there because, that's been growing at a great pace. And if we look at, vegetarianism and veganism, it is more on the rise at places, who are traditionally meat eaters. And several studies have found that, there is people from American, Asian, and some other regions, they have more lactose intolerance as compared to the European regions. So these are some of the markets that are already there for us, and 2 billion market in India in the next 5 years is itself a great market to target. And I believe plant-based can coexist with other sources of protein because there itself there is a whole lot of market to capture there. And going forward, if we look at some of the key products in the plant-based foods, globally, and India follows the same trend where it's being led by milk and milk products replacements as well as meat replacements. And if we look at key sources of plant-based products, majorly it's being made through pulses or which primarily constitutes of soya, and also in some cases it's being made from corn, like in the US. And so that's also a one source of challenge because these the sources of raw materials, they are actually different industries compete for them. And I don't have to say which industries, but yes, there are multiple industries, be it energy or other animal-based products and plant-based. So we have to, if we look at some of the strengths of this industry, I think, we all know the benefits of plant-based foods and, lowering the risks of diseases. I think some of the things are still being researched, but we all know the goodness of plant-based foods. However, we all understand the key challenges being, cost and affordability and the olfactory properties, that the taste and, the way it looks and feels, it's not as similar to the other animal-based foods. So those are some of the areas, where some innovative, maybe startups or thinking is required. Now, if we look at before I could, coming to my last point on the budget, just to mention, we were just while working on the, thought leadership for plant-based sector, we chanced upon, some of the, initiatives taken by the developed countries. Like in US, the USDA has developed a strategic plan for supporting plant-based industries, and they are investing into R&D for plant-based products. European Union, they plan to increase the share of plant-based protein in the entire food supply, and they are also investing in R&D, and they are also providing funds for promoting and marketing plant-based products. Canada, it has gone one step ahead. In addition to investing in R&D, they are also they have come out with a regulatory framework for labeling of plant-based products, which was, I think, discussed just a few minutes back. And similarly, in India, rather than saying that I would replace the entire meat market, why not target first the meat imports? I think imports, should be the first casualty, and should be low-hanging fruit. So these are some of the measures that are already being taken by some of the forward-looking economies, and I think there are a lot of measures which we expect from the government, like we talked about. We talked about GST parity. And I don't know if we talked about also reducing the import duties on some of the key raw materials, and providing support for developing some common infrastructure which could be used for packaging or testing of these products, especially for the MSMEs, because already there is a lot of competition from the big organized companies, and we need to support our small industrial sector. Then R&D support is definitely something which every country is providing, so it is also required. Promotion and marketing, all the MSMEs, it's a common challenge to limitation of funds to market and create awareness about their products. Regarding quality raw material availability, definitely as we said, the pulses, which is the key raw material, is being imported. So how to provide that raw material, the entire supply chain, it's a nightmare. So now I will not take much of your time, just coming to what I think is in it for plant-based sector from this budget. I believe this agriculture accelerator fund, it I think can be something really good for the plant-based sector, where I do expect to many innovative startups to come in, to basically improving the productivity in the rural areas. And solutions do exist. We have been doing projects in drip irrigation and several other agri infra projects, but the key is the cost. So if these innovative startups, they can bring out some ingenious solutions, to reduce the cost of some such initiatives, maybe go for vertical farming, but at a reduced cost. Probably, that could be one way of, increasing the raw material supply, and also increased availability of agricultural credit to the farmers. I think this will also help the farmers boost the productivity, and by access to supply of raw material, and especially including plant-based industries. And last but not the least, I don't know if we have seen this budget provides support and thrust to the cooperative sector, and there is a whole lot of thrust on all kind of cooperatives in all the sectors, including agriculture. And there is a thrust on transforming these cooperatives, and converting them into proper societies, and also providing them access to credit. So I think that's also where probably this could be a boon for plant-based sector, having startups, organizing the farmers, the converting FPOs into packs, and developing a formidable supply of raw materials. So I think a lot many other points have been discussed. I would not like to repeat those. So back to you, Sanjay.
Thank you. Thank you. So the result of the second poll are also out, and again we are divided almost half. That the Union Budget 2023, is it good or bad for plant-based food sector? Almost half of them are saying good, and almost half of them are saying not good. So 58% now, I think it's slightly changed. 58% are saying yes, it is, and 48% are saying that this is not. So now I want to invite our speaker, Vijay Sardana. Not sure whether he has already logged in, and if Vijay Sardana has not logged in, Then we will invite Jinesha. So Vijay, are you there? So Vijay, are you able to log in from the link? Is it possible for you? But we have to listen to you. So if you can try from the link, that might work very well because can you try from the link? Is it possible? Yeah, please do. So in the meantime, we can request Jinesh to come in, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Jinesh, you can come, please.
Hi, everyone, and thanks to PBFIA for organizing this call today, and a hello to everyone, all the players across our plant-based industry. Quick introduction, I'm Jinesh. I head up 𝐴HIMSA VC as the Chief Investment Officer. 𝐴HIMSA VC is India's first and only VC fund exclusively focused on the alternative protein industry, or the smart protein industry. Plant-based foods are, of course, and plant-based alternatives to animal products, rather, are specifically one of our key pillars, apart from, of course, the areas of cultivated meat and precision fermentation and biomass fermentation-based entities as well. So we obviously keep a close eye on the plant-based sector, and we basically obviously look at things from multiple different angles. We connect with industry stakeholders across the spectrum, and been doing so since the early days of the industry. Personally, I've been involved in the all-protein space since about 2013 in the West, in the US, and since about 2018 here in India. So since the very early days, since the birth of the industry, I've been an entrepreneur in the space, advisor, consultant, and advising family offices as well on the other side of the table now with investments, and heading up 𝐴HIMSA VC now, which is my largest charter. I think there is everything to be covered in terms of the budget has already sort of been covered, all the sort of key points with relation to so the government's focus on more sort of the green areas. I think the key theme for me really right now would be, and for us along in the industry, for all of us, will be to see how can we truly take an advantage of some of these large budgets that have been allocated to seemingly areas that we feel plant-based alternatives to animals will fall into, right? And which government schemes will really yield potential capital, other sort of resources, or tax easing. Because at the moment, we obviously see categorically government continues to focus on tax easing in the areas of animal husbandry, dairy, and other sort of animal agriculture related aspects. But for me, what's interesting to note is I think it's very important that there be resolution of this cognitive dissonance. By the cognitive dissonance, I really mean understanding how animal husbandry, while it's a large industry in India and globally, is basically the single largest contributor when it comes to sort of greenhouse gas emissions, land and water usage, land and water pollution, so on and so forth. So I think my comments are more around, how are we as an industry overall, helping perhaps take some of this message back to the policymakers around realizing that if the green goals need to be met by India, one big factor and a huge chunk of that will have to come out of the alternative protein industry really taking a step forward, and the government stepping in to help however it can to actually push this industry, push startups, push innovation, create SEZs perhaps focused on this domain, have tax easing similar to the ones provided to dairy and others, which are actually some of the biggest contributors to the very green issues that we're looking to solve. So I think somewhere there is still a lack of recognition or perhaps complete understanding of this by the government, though it's now popularly recognized and publicly, understood in wider circles within the food domain overall everywhere. like Amul's or the Tysons or the Danons or the Nestle's. All of them, a lot of them have already started acquiring companies in this domain and investing in this domain of plant-based or alternative proteins. And I think India needs to sort of start following suit on those fronts. I think that it's just a matter of more, I guess, engagement with government entities to ensure that there is more transparency around them seeing the food industry correctly, and also from a consumer perspective, bringing in more transparency, similar to how some of the other countries have taken lead. I think India has the opportunity to take a lead on defining how the future of food system should be created. We are one of the largest agricultural countries in the world, the largest population now. So we should have a significant say, not just in terms of the large quantities of how consumers exist in India, but more so how we shape the future of food. And in doing that, I think there are several things that the budget and the taxation should hopefully reflect. We don't see it here right now, but in the future, around perhaps increased taxation for things based on its greenhouse footprint, right? And for consumer transparency, actually talking about the greenhouse gas and land and water footprint of product that the consumer is buying off the shelves. Similar to just about a decade ago or around that time, where Indian products didn't necessitate putting labels at the back of your food in order to declare clarity around your ingredients and nutrition. And that changed now, of course. But I think India shouldn't wait to be one of the last ones to take that on. We should be one of the first ones to take on labeling around what's more environmentally friendly and what's the environmental cost of a certain product that you are buying out in the market. And perhaps then taking that and extending that into taxation. That should be increased taxation on things that are increasing a burden on our green goals of the country, right? Whatever is an obstacle in getting in the way should accordingly be labeled and taxed accordingly. Whatever is helping achieve that goal, if we truly as a country and a government believe in that, then there should also be transparency and easing given to products that are helping us along that way. So that's all I'll add. I think in terms of really the specifics of the budget, I think all of the areas have been covered by sort of the experts before me in the panel. Again, great connecting with the community again today, and thank you again, PBFIA, for the opportunity to speak.
Great. Thank you, Jinesh. Listening to you is always a great pleasure. You have done an amazing job for this industry, not only in your current role as CIO of Ahimsa VC, which is a unique fund for this sector, and also in your previous avatar of being one of the early starters of this industry. Thank you so much, Jinesh. Dr. Vijay Sardana is here. Dr. Vijay Sardana, you go next. As you know, Dr. Vijay Sardana is a very famous personality. He is not only very well qualified, but also he's a Supreme Court lawyer. He's a famous economist, worked with UN, studied at IIMS and then CFTRI, and he's really one of the gems that India has, and very happy to have you, Vijay. So Vijay, I don't want to spill some of the beans that what you do and how much you are influencing the life around us. So I leave it to you to tell us about the budget and a little bit about yourself also, Vijay, because you don't talk so much about you, and we have to tell about you, and then sometimes we feel that we have overstepped and we have told so much about you, which everybody may or may not need to know. So let's hear from Vijay himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. I'll not take much time because there are two more panelists and journalists are waiting, so I have to rush through. I'll just take 3 minutes max. First of all, about me, it's all given in social media, LinkedIn. I don't want to waste time on that because it's all there. Second point is that about the budget. I think everybody is looking from nitty-gritties from point of view, but I always look at what is the intent behind the budget. Now, 3 things which is very clear to all of us. Number 1, the government of India has decided to make the rural economy digitized. Minute you go for digitization, the arbitrary margins and inefficiencies will go down. It means that if somebody is thinking of locations and otherwise and not in efficiency and innovations, there is no future. Because digital technology will equalize many things which people think of having access to a particular location or market or product or supply chain. All those things will improve. Transaction cost will go down. The future, indirectly or directly, is with them, on those people, those who believe in innovations. Transactions, commodity trade, margins will go down. So simply somebody is working on a business model just because they want to do creating apps or startups only to do trading. I think that life is only maximum 3 to 5 years. So one has to be very, very clear, because then it is a level playing field. Second area is innovation. Startup focus on rural economy. It means there will be a lot of new ideas, a lot of technologies, starting from drone to mechanization to biotech to IT to logistics to warehousing hubs. All those things will flourish in rural economy. It means we have to think of that there will be a lot of outsourcing opportunities provided. We have good ideas which we can channelize into system. Owning of assets may not be a good business model. What business model is going to be the innovations? So these are some of the big areas. Second important area to look at is, as we are trying to become globalized, Government of India, if you see the changes in customs duty and other areas, they are trying to reduce the customs duty on the critical components so that domestic manufacturing becomes cheaper and exports becomes, rule of the game. Are we having products and technologies by which we can export? If that is the focus, Government of India policies will be supportive. If anyone has a business model depending on imports, days will be difficult in coming time. So these are some of the major dimensions to look at what Government of India is planning to do. Overall, skill development will be required. Digitization means a lot of literacy will be required. Capacity building will be required. When we are talking of rural startups, a lot of people with rural background has a great opportunity because that is a focus area. Another area to look at is when we are trying of cooperative strengthening. Another 63,000 cooperatives Government of India wants to strengthen. It means farmers will look for market linkages. Now, these are some of the things where we are saying that if we are not doing value addition, just doing transactions as traders, those days may not be very lucrative as business community. Innovations, value additions, doing some surveys, focus on exports, upgrading the system towards digitization. I think these are some of the dimensions of this budget, which we have to consider, remaining as always, like spending on infrastructure, spending on education, irrigation, that all will continue because those are foundational activities. So this is in brief, I just wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay. We have on our list now Nikhil, and Nikhil is from Brink India. Nikhil, are you there on the call? If you can kindly come in.
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Hello. I'm going to keep my video off because I'm outside and I'm not very sure about connectivity. But thank you, Sanjay, for organizing this. Without repeating much of what the gentleman before have already mentioned. I think if you look at the current budget, while there isn't something that could directly create an impact on plant-based, there obviously are a lot of indirect benefits that could be derived. That being said, a couple of steps that we could probably look at for the next budget, right? In the current budget, the government has clearly shown two intentions. One, they are okay to forego revenues. They've already foregone about 35,000 crores of direct tax revenues, reducing the tax impact on individuals, and at the same time casting a wider tax net, right? So we could potentially look at making a request to the government in the next budget, where the indirect taxes levied on plant-based foods or alternate proteins could be linked, like Jinesh mentioned before, could be linked to the carbon footprint of that product itself. So lower carbon footprint translating to lower tax revenues for the government, but at the same time makes it more affordable for the masses. This coupled with the fact that disposable income could be increasing, it means that consumption could potentially go up, which could lead to adoption of these foods in the masses, right? So that's one. Second, we could also make a recommendation or try to push for some sort of an incentive, creating specific food parks for alternate protein. Any sort of incentive schemes or PLIs, like Praveen ji had mentioned earlier, specifically for the sector. I think the two put together could, one, pull in more startups or pull in more businesses to try and kind of scale their operations in this space, try to reduce price points for consumers, and in effect probably lead to greater adoption in the masses, right? So what would be my ask from the government when it comes to plant-based foods sector in the next budget? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
sorry,
hear
we're
you,
not
Nikhil.
able. Okay.
Yes, Nikhil, continue.
Hello.
Yes, there was disturbance, but now I can hear you.
Sanjay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, I think I had a bit of network issue. When did you lose me at?
Yes, continue.
Okay. Now, I think my probable ask to the government would be for the next budget would be these two, right? One, reduction for and
Now I cannot hear you, Nikhil. No. Yes.
Yeah. No, I said probably my ask for the government for the next budget would be reduction in taxes linked to our carbon footprint. So indirect taxes linked to the carbon footprint of the products that are plant-based alternatives, and setting up of a food park as well as PLIs and incentive schemes for capex that's that's required, that goes into the startup to create these businesses. Both of these put together with the fact that disposable income is on the rise could potentially lead to greater adoption of these products and take this to the masses gradually. I think that would be
Okay, Nikhil, your internet is not stable. Maybe if you stop somewhere and you can finish your comment, but in the meantime, can I quickly request our partner for the conference PhD Chamber, which we are doing on 14th of March at Ahar. Millie, if you are still there on the line, can I bring you in once again, please?
Yeah, please.
So, Millie, I also know that you have another conference coming up, which is Farm to Fork. Can you tell us about that? Because I've been getting a lot of information about you and the millet conference that you did in Madhya Pradesh. Can you tell us about this Farm to Fork, which is coming up?
So Farm to Fork, this is the flagship event of PhD CCI, and this time around it will be the 8th edition, and where we will be, catering all the value chain. This is a flagship event where we do, right from the name you can make out that it is from farm to fork. So we will be talking about right from the input to the digitization to the warehousing to the cold storage and the last mile connectivity. So this time the highlight of the event would be we are also having a CEO forum, which will be chaired by our chair of food processing committee, who is Mr. Anil Rajput. from ITC. So we will be calling all the top CEOs from the companies where they will be sharing the ideas. And I have kept the theme for this time, Farm to Fork, is sustainable agriculture and climate smart agri. So given the G20 presidency, this is the theme of PSGCCI for whole of the year for food and agri committee, and hence the theme. So we are planning to do it on 2nd and 3rd of March for now. But I am also planning an event for millet in Bhojpur, which is having a conflict with these dates. So there are chances that I may push it to the end of March. So I'll be confirming the date soon. And we are also expecting Mr. Tomar as a chief guest. And for all the sessions, we are having 6 technical sessions, and we are also expecting good exhibitors. SFAC will be our FPO partner for this, and Brazil will be the country partner, since the next G20 presidency is with Brazil, and they are working towards the sustainable agriculture in a big way. So this is all about Farm to Fork, and we are expecting it will be more like a B2B kind of a conference come exhibition for 2 days. So I'm expecting all.
Okay, so I think you got muted, maybe.
Is it? Sorry, yeah. I don't know how it happened.
Okay, I can hear now. Please continue.
So can you tell me where I was, because I thought I'm.
No, it was only for a second. You got muted for a second.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to have everyone here who is the part of this webinar to attend Farm to Fork and be part of this event. I can assure you that there will be takeaway for everybody who will be associated with the event, and I look forward to see you all there.
And what are the dates?
So dates are 2nd and 3rd of March, but then there's an event in Bhojpur where Minister Pashupatinath Paras will be coming, and this was on 16th and 17th of February, but now Minister is giving the same date for my Farm to Fork. So it's may likely that I may push the date for Farm to Fork, which will be like end of March. I'll be confirming the date soon once I get a heads up from the minister.
Great. So wish you all the best for these events, Millie, and look forward to your participation that we are doing in partnership for the 14th of March.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward as well and equally excited.
Thank you. So Jinesh Shah is one of the veterans in the private equity industry in India from Omnivore. He is the managing partner, and Omnivore was amongst the first one to start investing in the agriculture space. And we are very proud of you, Jinesh, and we are very proud of Omnivore. If it was not there, then the life wouldn't be the same. See, all the startup ecosystem and the kind of buzz that is there in agriculture, Omnivore has played a very, very dominant role in shaping it up. Government came later. It was Omnivore who actually started doing it much before. And so without any further delay, Jinesh, what's your take on the budget? First of all, are you happy with the budget?
I think from my perspective, I think it's a decent focus on agriculture, right? The government of India continues to be focused on agriculture as a sector, right? While we could expect stars and moons, but I think at least the direction is in the right side, right? And also, I think we have a continued focus where government keeps on throwing out new fund like an agriculture accelerator fund. I mean, giving a higher credit to the sector. At the same time, continuing with what they've been doing good work, like direct benefit of transfer. I mean, giving more support to people, poor people for food grains. So that seems to be on the right side. I mean, I think the budget is good. I was also hoping that the government will also talk about helping startups with some kind of working capital support, right? The biggest challenge for agriculture and startups is getting credit for helping the entire value chain in terms of there's a huge amount of working capital which gets stuck around it. And the entrepreneurs are ending up putting the equity capital as a working capital, which is not the right use, right? So I was hoping that government would do something, maybe might also take a slightly bolder decision of bringing RBI and say that the startup funding would also be part of PSL to some extent. I mean, that's a hope I had, but I mean, I don't know, whenever it gets over, get fulfilled, it will get fulfilled. But overall, I think it's a decent budget, right? I mean, the focus is right. The government talking of open source public partnership. I think that's something which is very well. It's probably going to help to get the agri-tech in place. And I think the government infusing the support to give more and more credit and bringing the agriculture credit into the front and center for everything what they're doing is very useful. But I was really hoping to get more and more bolder decisions. Hopefully at some point it will happen. But I think on overall, it's a decent balanced budget from agriculture's perspective. I think from a consumer perspective, I was hoping government to focus on incentivizing people to do some kind of better nourishment or nutrition security. We all have food security concerns taken out. I was hoping that government with focus on nutrition security for the common people would help the agriculture sector to create some fortified products, which in turn would help the farmers and the sector as a whole. I was hoping to see that, but didn't come out. Hopefully, it will come out at some point of time.
Sure. One more question from you, Jinesh.
Sure.
If you were the finance minister, what else you would have done?
I think that's probably not the right question. I mean, look, I think I look at my holistic or narrow view in terms of the agriculture and the investments we do it. If I was the finance minister and if I were to support the agri-tech sector and the investors in that, I mean, we've been having a lot of concerns as an industry, as an investor class, to resolve a lot of AIF related issues, right? We've been trying to get those things sorted out, but it doesn't seem to be moving the needle. So if I was finance minister, I would have spoken to people, just not the top 4 or 5 investors, or not just one body which focuses on the few larger private equity plays, but early stage startups or the startup investors would have been given a chance to articulate the viewpoint, and that would have helped around it. I think it's something because agriculture, while it's very large, it's very big. The issues are very, very basic, right? Issues about soil salinity, issues about water security, issues about giving the right amount of fertilizer. That is not addressed. It's still being addressed at a very high level. So if there was some way where this could have been demonstrated around it, it would have been useful. Just throwing out money in the terms of accelerated fund, I don't think that's a clear answer, because it is one more way of giving money to make some startup investments, but that's not really which is going to create a scale. So that's something which I missed out. But Sanjay, I mean, this question was taken aback because I was not. I don't think I can think of what the Honorable Finance Minister talks about it here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jinesh. It's a pleasure to have you. I also have R.S. Dikshit. I see in the list of attendees. Mr. Dikshit, are you there? If you're there, it would be great to listen to you. Mr. Radhesham Dikshit. So I think Mr. Dikshit is not active on the call, it seems. It's nice to see if people from dairy industry come and want to see what is happening in plant-based dairy, almond milk, and also soy milk. Soy milk has been around for a long time in the form of 𝐏𝐚𝐳𝐝 and SoFit brand that they have. And we also have one of our members, Prerna Bajaj. And Prerna Bajaj is from Wesley, and we have Miloni, and we also have Shiv Madaliar. Anyone of you would like to come in at this stage? Samir Prasad. Samir Prasad is also from plant-based dairy sector, using normal ice creams. Okay, so who has the next questions? I can see Chandrasekhar is there, and Katisha also from Paul. Katisha represents the POL organization, which is having the membrane technology and which solves some of the issues that have been raised recently about the health, about the processing and the nutritional quality of the foods that we get. So who has got the first question? So audience, now it is open to you. You can come in and ask the question from any of the speakers. Or you can introduce yourself if you want to say anything. Shiv Madaliar.
Yes. Hi. Good evening, everybody. I would like to ask you one of the question is just observing everything. Thank you for organizing in such a wonderful event, webinar, Sanjay ji. Would be the government assistance and grants and subsidies for this kind of a thing? Precisely, that's on the whole that agri sector government is supporting a lot. Plant-based movement, is there any precise grants or assistance made via incubations or kind of foods that is mentioning altogether? If somebody could able to throw some light on that, it would be great to all of us, I think. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Medha had a slide before that. Medha, if you can put that slide again. So if you see, government usually works both on the post-harvest side as well as at the farmer level. At the farmer level, there are many areas where it supports. At the consumer level or at the processing level, there are various schemes like cold chain or food processing schemes or cluster schemes. Previously, it used to be Mega Food Park. Now it is Operation Greens. And if anybody wants to put up any infrastructure, can help take that help from them. There's a varying degree of subsidy from 20% to about 50% in some cases. APEDA also has a scheme for landlocked states, especially. And if there is a woman entrepreneur, there is even more subsidy for that, up to maximum 4 crores. So if it is a landlocked state, and if it's a woman entrepreneur, and if it is an upgradation of an existing factory, then you are able to get this kind of a support from APEDA also. And then you have other ministries like MSME and Ministry of Agriculture. And of course, there are state schemes. For example, we are developing our first plant protein cluster in Bhiwadi, and the Rajasthan government has a scheme that if you bring in innovative projects for agriculture like this, then you get 100% refund for the GST. So virtually the whole project becomes free. So there are many such schemes which are coming up, and we are also approaching the government to ensure that our sector should be allowed to import soybeans, which are premium grade soybean for the human consumption. And US has some of those varieties. And if those are imported, we can keep the oil, we can process it in India, and we can take the product outside the country. So it gives us an advantage in terms of higher GDP because we are processing the oil in the country. And we are also getting those amazing products in the form of TVP and other products that we can make now ourselves within the country. And we are approaching the government to provide us at least a quota for the plant-based sector for the human consumption, because most of the soybean which is there in the country, it is not being used for TVP. Most of it is coming and imported. So Pratyusha is also there. Pratyusha, you want to say something on this?
Hello, everybody. Sanjay ji, good evening. I was just saying that I have to hop off to another call, but thank you so much. It's been great. And I want you to know that I'm listening in, and everybody at POL Corporation is aware of all the developments, and we are very happy to be a part of your group. Looking forward to many such associations moving forward.
Thank you, and keep doing the great work. Your membrane technology is going to be the game changer for our country and also for the health aspect. And hopefully we will lose the tag, the unwanted tag of being the over-processed because of an amazing technology, which is the membrane technology. That means we don't have to use the chemical way of making protein isolates. We can achieve 80% of the proteins with the help of membrane technology, and we are very much looking forward to it in deploying it not just in our first plant protein cluster in Bhiwadi, but also in all the 12 clusters that we are going to government to notify it. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening. Bye.
Back to you, Medha.
Okay.
So we have 2 minutes for this, Medha. Be very, very brief, and just those 2 slides.
Want me to present the schemes again?
Yeah, please do that.
Just... So here actually, this is just a brief description about various schemes that are given by Government of India. So there's Ministry of Food Processing Industries. They have 3 major schemes. The one is PM-KSY, which is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, which is closely linked with the work we also do, which is linked with the processing side or processed food side as well. They have a lot of other segments, but over here I've just highlighted only 5 segments currently. They give support for creating integrated cold chain and value addition infrastructure. Around 35 to 50% of the eligible project cost can be given by the Ministry of Food Processing as a scheme for a project, but the maximum cap is of 10 crores. Similarly, there is one scheme which is infrastructure for agro-processing clusters, which is closely linked with the activity which we're trying to initiate as well, which is the plant protein cluster. And they give a maximum of maximum capital of 10 crores per project. There's another scheme as Operation Green, which is the biggest scheme that MUFPI gives, which has a maximum cap of 50 crores. Over here, we are still have to figure it out. There are certain categories where some products are not eligible in the Operation Greens. So certainly like perishable products are not eligible. So that has to figured out over here. Then we have Pradhan Mantri Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises Scheme. So the two key areas which is attached with processing side is the upgradation of individual microprocessing units, which also has a cap of 10 lakhs per unit. And there's a common, if you want to create a common infrastructure, you can get a cap 35% of capital investment. Then there is a production link incentive scheme for food processing industry, which is for SMEs who are creating some innovative or organic products. People who are also creating millet-based products also come into that in this scheme as well. They give support in terms of incentives for taking branding and marketing activities as well. There's one scheme which is Agriculture and Processed Food Export Promotion Scheme. So if somebody is working for the development of export infrastructure, like common infrastructure facility, they can take the scheme. There is 90% of the approved cost subjected to a ceiling of rupees 600 lakhs. So this is like a mega scheme given by the APEDA. And over here, there's another segments or another facilities which can be covered through the scheme is quality development and market development. Ministry of Agriculture also has a scheme in which processed foods can be assessed, which is Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. So if somebody is working on agri-business model and they are assuring that the farmer's income will increase with that kind of model, so they can give a scheme which covers like 30% of regular RKVI outlet. If you are working on a union territory, then you can get up to like 70% or 90% of the coverage as well. There are a lot of other schemes given for women entrepreneurs. So these are few of the loans and schemes which is given by Government of India, which is Mudra loan for women. Annapurna scheme is there. Stree Shakti Yojana is there. Deen Shakti scheme is there. Bharatiya Mahila Bank Business Loan is there. Mahila Udyam Nidhi Yojana, Sent Kalyani scheme, Udyoni scheme, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana, and Sindh Mahila Shakti schemes. Apart from this, there are other schemes which is given by MSME. MSME also gives schemes on common facility development, and other schemes are also given by Atal Incubation Centers as well and Startup India as well to kickstart the movement or credit incentive schemes given by these areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Meda. I can also see we have amongst us Mr. 𝐾𝐶 Bansal. Are you there, Mr. 𝐾𝐶 Bansal?
I'm here. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, 𝐾𝐶 Bansal is the Secretary of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. So, Bansalji, over to you.
Well, I was here more to learn and about what's going on in this plant-based, industry. And I'm a fan of plant-based food, by the way, popularizing it in my own little way. And by profession, I'm a researcher. I'm a professor of biotechnology. And what I quickly wanted to say was this, that while development, the way we have been talking about it through agri-startups and all is very, very important, and we're talking of fortification, you're talking of quality improvement, you're talking of nutrition, etc. Everything is very important, through these agri-tech startups or through the developmental organizations and activities and projects. But I believe in India, what we are lagging behind is our investments into basic research, basic science research, and some of the newer technologies which are now become available throughout the world. World Food, Nobel laureate winning, technology. I'm talking about it for improvement of crop plants. And you're talking of soybean. Soybean production is too low in our country. And when we talk of plant-based, it's not only wheat, rice, pulses, or oil seeds. We have got underutilized fruits and crops which are so rich in calcium and many other nutrients. You're talking about it. In fact, better than many of the animal-based food products. So I think it's important that this particular industry association should also, appreciate and look into the value of science, the research. Until and unless we develop these high-yielding crop varieties and products, through these various biotechnological approaches, we are not going to increase the efficiency as much which is required, to save water or to save land or to save fertilizer. We're talking about it, and to fight, the sustainable issues we're talking about with regard to climate change. And sustainability will only come through research, innovations, and then developing technologies. Then those technologies could become a hallmark, for the industry to take it forward and multiply it at a scale available not only in India but also exporting out. So India could be an international hub. So to me, it appears that I can talk about those technologies later. Time will not permit me to go into the details right now. But we're talking about it, kind of GM crops. I'm sure you have heard about it. Government of India is now coming forward, appreciating these innovations in biotechnology. Genome editing is another area wherein, we are making headway globally. It's being revolutionizing not only agriculture, even health, diagnostics, pharma, and other sectors. So we need to focus more also in continuing research than ever before, because the times are changing. Innovations are so much there in science, expanding so fast, that we must adopt those technologies, sooner than later, for the benefit of our own country. And we have to produce the largest amount for being our own, being self-sufficient and moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Until unless we do that, even in our own country, and we realize this important, now, that's, I think, the message I thought I will try to give to the industry as a whole, and we scientists, looking forward to, helping, the way the technology could be made further available at the cheapest cost, and producing more from less, as we move on. I think this is what should be enough at the moment. Budget, I won't be able to comment as much as I've already heard from other speakers. And thank you, Mr. Sanjay. You've been doing a great job. I've been following you, through some of your your projects and programs, in the LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bansal. Kindly give your contact details. It's quite possible you may be my neighbor, because I'm also in Gurugram as you are. So
okay, sure.
Kindly give your contact details in the chat box. And I
Yes.
also got a question from someone. So if anybody can answer that question, soya is used more for animal husbandry than direct human consumption. So Professor Bansal, would you like to talk about it?
Actually, soya has, it has to be kind of processed. We don't have that kind of a taste for soya at the moment by ourselves. Whereas soya is one of the best proteins we have, available when we talk of other pulses. And that's what exactly, the science is being now done, through the kind of technology we're talking about it, to be more palatable by the human beings. no doubt it's also important as a feed. It's very, very important. But nevertheless, it could be also converted using some of those technologies to be more palatable, to be more tastier, than what it is at the moment. And the technology is being used, that way. And there are programs going on in research. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for being here, Dr. Bansal. I also see one of our members is also a great user of soybean. We can also bring you Prerna Bajaj. 𝑭𝒊𝒓𝒆𝒔 is one of the great organizations in the plant-based sector. You use the soya quite a lot. Can you answer this question, please?
Yeah.
Yes, Prerna.
Hello.
To you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah. Actually, I had 𝑭𝒊𝒓𝒆𝒔 Foods and we started in 2010. And our main aim, as you know, I have discussed previously also, was constant improvisation and innovation. And we are also on the lookout for the best quality of soya beans, which we can import. And I would like to make a request that if we can do that and import from US, it's going to help us and make a much more better products and improvise the sales and provide better quality of food to the common masses, and this is going to be the hallmark of success according to me.
Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Prerna. Thank you for being here. 𝑭𝒊𝒓𝒆𝒔 is a very good organization which has democratized the product starting at as low as 35 rupees. It's amazing. So I also see Gajendra is there. If Gajendra would like to say something, or I see Chandrasekhar also. If you guys can make a brief comment. Gajendra, I've seen your comment. Would you like to also speak? Okay. Perhaps no. So with this, anyone else who has a question before we close today's session? Okay, thank you. Thank you, audience. You have been very patiently listening to today's conversation. It was great having you all. And we had a wonderful discussion. It is also visible from the results of the polls, where the audience was 50-50 divided. That gives me an impression that how much it was needed. This discussion was needed to clarify your thoughts. I hope you will go back with some extra information that you got from this. And the most importantly is that you interact with each other, and we play a role in making it happen. Come to our events like on 14 March, we have in Ahar in New Delhi, in Pragati Maidan, in hall number 8 on first floor. So do register for that. It is free to attend. Amazing conference, but free to attend. And also become a member of PBFIA. If you are a member, we can also invite you, again free of cost, to our conference, which is on 22nd, which we call it a summit because we call all the stakeholders there. A lot of scientists. Dr. Bansal, you would be amazed. Last year we sent 100 scientists and 100 entrepreneurs, and taking the same thing forward, we are going to have a bigger place this year, again at Le Méridien Hotel. It's a one-day conference on 22nd of May. So kindly mark your calendars for that.
Excellent. I will. Sure.
Yeah, you're welcome to be a part of it. So we give this access to our members. Members are free to be a part of this summit, and at the same time engage with us through the social media. I personally take a lot of interest in LinkedIn, but my colleagues are there on other social media as well. And then we also have a lot of partners here like PhD Chamber, IFBA, and 𝒊𝒓𝒆𝒔, and some other organizations are there like 𝐼NSA-VC. So all of you are our partners, and very happy to see you. And thank you, team. I know Aditi Sharma could not speak because she was doing live on Facebook. So her her equipment was engaged. So Aditi, keep doing the good work. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you all for joining.
Very much.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you.